Hello and welcome to the Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League and the Champions League. I am Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earl, and we are reacting today to week 24 of this Premier League season. And here are the topics. Arsenal go top of the table after a 4-2 come-from-behind victory over Aston Villa. Manchester City drop points against Nottingham Forest, drawing 1-1. Liverpool beat Newcastle 2-0 behind goals from Nunez and Gakpo. Man United win again thanks to two more goals from Marcus Rashford, beating Leicester 3-0. And Tottenham jump into fourth after beating West Ham United 2-0. That's what we're coming up in today's episode.
Okay, my friend, missed you this weekend. Missed you at 7:30 on Saturday morning when we had one of the games of the season, Aston Villa hosting Arsenal. All eyes on Arsenal after the defeat against Manchester City. What reaction to the team? How would Arteta handle things? How would the team play? What a game, mate. What drama. What... Before I pass on, I'm just gonna throw it out there in that this could have been very different. They were 1-0 down, they were 2-0 down. It was an early kick-off. You know, it's against a Fulham manager. There was lots of reasons why Arsenal may not have got this job done. But to get the win, to get the victory in the manner that it came, Rob, I just feel sometimes, we probably go back to Leicester City because that was the last time we saw somebody who we didn't expect to win it, to do it. There were moments during the run-in for Leicester City where you kind of went, ooh, now that's happened. That it starts to become a bit believable. Do you remember they played Manchester City? Well, that game always sticks out for me. Mahrez ends up bending one in.
Was it Mahrez?
And I always remember thinking, oops, this is a bit more serious than I thought. I'm not saying Arsenal are there yet, and I'm not sure they're quite as far down the road, but the manner of the victory and the way the victory came was a bit of a ooh moment to me, like maybe they can go all the way.
Yeah, well, I think they can go all the way, but this was really, really key. I mean, we use the word defining, don't we, a lot? And there's been defining moments in previous title races. Whether their defining moments might be different to different people. The Vincent Kompany top corner strike out of nowhere a couple of seasons ago. The Leicester stuff with Mahrez with the step over and the hammer in the back of net against Man City. It did feel a little defining, Rob. But I think on our last podcast in the week, I talked about Arsenal are always going to have a bad moment, a blip, a run of results that weren't ideal. It's how long that went on for. And this was so important for that, in my opinion. Like that's the little bad run has been put to bed initially now with a tremendous victory, very strong on the feel-good factor. I mean, I've got friends of all the big teams at the top, and I felt nervous for my Arsenal pals because it looked like, Rob, at moments in this game where I don't know where a goal was coming from. Arsenal doing their same kind of thing. And, you know, at times they can look a little... Well, for us, they look predictable because we know exactly what they're trying to do with the way that they build up and the way they go to wide players and Zinchenko tucks into midfield. It just wasn't really working. So a couple of moments, Rob. I thought the Zinchenko goal, first ever Premier League goal, I think, for Alexander Zinchenko. That particular goal, I think that made it 2-2. I just thought that was such a big moment because at that point, 2-1, another loss. Yeah. You know, I mean, when was that? That's kind of after the hour mark in the game. Yeah, so I thought that, and then of course the Martinez own goal with the shot from Jorginho and off the back of his head is probably going to be one of those moments we look back on if Arsenal do go all the way. I thought it was a brilliant game of football. Yeah. It's one of those where we check out the cliche. It's a great advertisement for Premier League football. It was just such a great game with the story, with what's at stake for both teams really, but particularly Arsenal with what they're trying to do at the moment. It was great, and fair play to Arsenal, Rob. Fair play to Arsenal. You know, when you look at their bench and you look at their squad, in terms of comparing them or juxtaposing them with Man City, there's just less options off the bench for Arsenal, isn't it? You look at the just a lot, and it's the same team. There's probably going to have to be, Rob, because that's the best team, the strongest team. That's the team that can win, you know, the majority of its games and gives them the best chance. It's just they can't rotate and stuff. Maybe they don't have to because of European competition, but it felt big, Rob. It felt big, and Arsenal now back in pole position with a game in hand. that they've put themselves in a good situation again.
Yeah. You mentioned Zinchenko's goal. I thought Bukayo Saka's goal was important, Rob, just reactive. Just this young kid, by the way, was he 22 years of age or something still? I know he's talked about his contract, and that's for another day. But just his... He took a knock, Rob. He looked like his boot was off. He had treatment a couple of times. I think a couple of medical staff were saying maybe he got to come off, and he was determined to stay on. He's Arsenal through and through. He's desperate to become a winner with this team. I just think he shows such maturity for somebody else, such drive and determination. I thought Martin Odegaard, Rob, after he'd missed that chance, and it was one of those where we're all in the watching the game in the studio and can't quite believe what we've seen. Of all people, who had too much to think about, pulls it wide. I thought after he'd made that error, he got on the ball, he was brave, he prodded, he poked, he got his team going. I thought he showed a real strength of personality and character that told me something more about them, Rob. That if they get two sticky times, they've got one or two with a bit of steel inside them. They might not be experienced, they might not have been the full course at Man United, but they've got a few steely operators in there. And I thought that was a really good sign for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, and it is, and it's a sign of how they can handle the pressure, Rob, isn't it? Because that was always, it's waiting to come out, isn't it? Everybody is waiting to say, oh, there you go again. Like, it's Arsenal. They can't quite, and of course we'll never know until the end of the season whether they can manage to do it. But I think that result and that performance, that's a tough place to go, Rob. Remember we were there last year. Yeah. I think we saw Spurs go there, to be fair, and win. And I remember sat there at Villa Park thinking, God, what? This is a tough place to come. There's big atmosphere. I mean, I don't know. That game, I just thought, God, it just reminds you of teams that Aston Villa that are a mid-table side, aren't they? At best, they even were last year, maybe a little bit lower than that. They're still a good team. They still got good players. I remember looking at Coutinho live and thinking, God, it's some ability and some sharpness and some skill. So for Arsenal, given what they had happen to them in midweek, to go there, roll the sleeves up, and it's pretty much the same team. Though there was one player that was but also sorry, that's one change that was made. Yeah, I'm looking at right back. Ben White. Ben White not playing midweek is something that I don't know if there's something other in it than just a rotation, a mistake from the manager thinking that Tomiyasu was the right guy for that particular game. I get it. Didn't work out. He made a mistake. His general game wasn't very good. But Ben White, not just did he. I thought Ben White was excellent, Rob, from right back, and not just the defensive side, but pushing on in that late in that second half, trying to force play down the right hand side, trying to make things happen for his team. Now he's not somebody that people are going to talk about too much, but I just looked at him very closely in the second half, thinking, I'm not sure Arsenal are going to get back into this, come from behind again, and he kept pushing. His football's better than probably what we might think. When you think about Ben White, I think as a right back now, where he's mostly plays as centre back, I think in his career, I thought he had a really good game and somebody that I would mention, apart from the others and the normals that we always mention, Rob, in terms of these young players. I thought Ben White back into the team was important, and he had a really good game on the right hand side. But it's a big win for them, mate. It's a very, very big win given the table, what's happened, Man City's result. I mean, it's going to be some race, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and credit to Mikel Arteta as well, because the spotlight was on him, Rob. People were waiting to see what response happened, how he was going to be on the sidelines. Everybody talking about emotions. I thought he handled it perfectly, and his side came good for him when they needed him, and you can see why he said he has more belief after the defeat than not, and it kind of comes across a bit of a strange statement, but maybe he sees that resolve and he sees some of the things that we're talking about. And just before we move on, mate, I've got to announce my underappreciated performer of the week. Oh. And Ben White was somebody who came in them, I think, and similarly, I thought he was a miss against Man City. It's always easy to be wise after the event. But I'm going to go for Jorginho, my friend, who was brought into this football club. And like you, I've got many Arsenal friends who were not overjoyed, particularly. A bit underwhelmed that he comes in, passes the ball sideways and backwards. He's not very progressive. Is he going to make us any better? And I thought against Manchester City, he showed up when Thomas Partey wasn't playing and got on the ball and tried to make things happen. He's probably come up with the biggest moment of the season for Arsenal so far with the shot that ends up hitting Emi Martinez. I thought he was brave on the ball again. He's if you make good runs going forward, he's got the ability to find them off both feet, left and right. And I just think his experience of what he's done at Chelsea and what he's won at Chelsea down the track might be an important part of the dressing room. So, again, for a number of reasons, and not least because I feel that Arsenal fans are a little bit underwhelmed by the signing, Jorginho, on a big day for Arsenal, came up with with one of the biggest moments that they've had so far this season.
That is a great shout. That is a great shout, Rob, because I tell you what an important signing that's proven to be right now, and probably will be. What an important signing, Rob. With Thomas, I mean, the whole thing with Arsenal, with Thomas Partey, he's playing so well, but can he stay fit? And what happens if he, maybe one of the most important players in the team, gets injured? We haven't really got anybody else. Lokonga's not been ready. El Nenny's a long-term injury as well. It was a late business, needed business, and you're right. Maybe some of the, I mean, I think, to be fair, the Arsenal fans knew, Rob, that he was going to be a standby player and somebody could come in now and again. But just to realise, wow, he was needed very quickly with Thomas Partey's recent injury. And for him to score, well, didn't score the goal, did he? But he created that goal with the own goal with the goalkeeper, with that shot. And I'll tell you what, Rob, before we move on, I think I think so many people focus on Jorginho's stuff, that what he can't do.
Yeah.
And I guess it's natural, right, for us, right, as pundits and stuff. And you know, when you're sat in the studio, you talk about Jorginho, and you think about what he can do, but you do say, well, he has got, defensively against the ball, he hasn't got the legs, and he can't do this, and he can't do that. That is all true. That is all true. But what he can do is the knitting together stuff that people don't understand how key that is. Number one, you're not giving the ball away. Very rarely gives the ball away. When he does, it's obviously it's going to grab headlines with the position he plays. But he keeps knitting things together. He plays a clever little balls through the lines. You know, if somebody makes a run, he's got the ability to find that run. So he's got stuff that he can't do. Yes. But I've always been a fan of what he can do, more of that, and how impressed I am with that side again, with his passing side of the game. And I think at Chelsea, he fell victim a little bit, particularly at the start, Rob. You know, people were hammering him at the start. And there were games where he got brushed aside a little bit on counter-attacks. I get all that. But, you know, there's some big-time managers that have appreciated what he's done in the team at Chelsea and now at Arsenal. And what a clever, important signing he's proving to be for the Gunners.
Absolutely, my friend.
That's a good shout.
Let's move it on to the City ground, Nottingham Forest. So, Nottingham Forest, you've hit a bit of spell. I think they're unbeaten in the last 7 Premier League games at home. They were hosting Manchester City. City buoyant after the result against Arsenal. Didn't quite go as many would have planned. Nottingham Forest won, Manchester City won. Dropped points for the reigning champions. A bit of a careless performance. I know you didn't get a chance to see this one, Rob, but just in terms of overview and outlook from the optics. What it does more than anything, Rob, for me, is buys into something we talked about on the podcast. I just still don't think Manchester City are quite where they were when they're blasting people away. I still think there's going to be points dropped along the route, and that's the hope that Arsenal have of winning the title.
Yeah, and this is a prime example, isn't it? And you know, let's be. I mean, it's quite easy to be knee-jerk, isn't it, with a lot of the Premier League stuff, because you get extremes from 3 or 4 days from one to another, where you're like, well, that you can see now, look, this is what City are. They've shown their quality. We do it. We all do it. And it's like the attacking players against Arsenal, with the difference, the ruthless finishing and the through balls. But then next, 3 or 4 days later, you know, you get something like this where they drop points. But they're more they're vulnerable, Rob, aren't they? They are a little vulnerable from set pieces to counter-attacks, and they're even braver now with this 3 at the back and 2 in midfield, and with one of those being a defender. And I mean, it was in that window, Rob, wasn't it? The 10 o'clock window on Saturday, where it's hard to keep a look at all the games going on. I think there's 6 games going on at the same time, by the way, that 10 o'clock window.
Crazy.
But of course, when you see the scoreline and whatever game you're watching, you got the score in the corner. It's like, no, they're not going to drop points there. But obviously they did, and. You know, that's why if you're Arsenal or Man United, who we'll talk about in a second, like, you've got to keep going. You've got to try and get your own business done, because you don't know. We don't know. Man City have lost 4 games. They've drawn 4 games now. You know, it's that sort of league, and teams that you wouldn't think are dangerous are dangerous. When you look down the league table now, they've all got players in those squads that can do a little bit of damage. And they can hurt you. That's the power of the league, and the power of the way the revenues are split, the TV money's split, where a lot of clubs have got money and they can outbid big European teams to get decent players. So that's always going to be a possibility. I did notice a couple of Erling Haaland misses, Rob, where you'd normally expect him to score. Did he have a bit of a nightmare in front of goal?
One of those days where, do you remember the Community Shield on his first day when balls came back to him and he blasted them over the top, and it was almost like, ooh, he's not a great finish. He's going to have to get used to the league. He had a couple of those moments. So he was involved in two key moments in the second half, Rob, that I think decided the outcome of the result. The first one was a foul on him by Joe Worrell. So he's getting played over the top. He's chasing a ball, as you'd expect, using his power and his size to get across Worrell. And it looks like Worrell's arm goes across and he catches him on the shoulder. Now, whether it was inside the box or out, looks to me like it's outside the box. But it's definitely the denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. So that given, it should have been a foul and possibly a red card to Joe Worrell. Now, neither were given. Neither the foul nor obviously the referee didn't feel that Worrell had made enough contact. I thought it was a poor decision. Pep went crazy on the side, got himself a yellow card, not happy with the officials. So Nottingham Forest got away with that one. And then into the second half, Foden has a shot that comes back off Naylor. Now, he's probably 6 yards out, Erling Haaland. He chests the ball onto his left foot, bangs it into the ground, it hits a crossbar, and comes back to him. He's now got like a chest and volley into the roof of the net. He chest and volleys it into row Z. I mean, he couldn't have missed it any further if he'd have tried. And with that, Rob, it was one of those moments where I think Forest just thought, well, they're only 1 goal up, and some good interplay down the right-hand side. No surprise, Johnson and Gibbs White have been involved. Those two are just starting to have a real nice chemistry working down there. The cross comes in. Chris Wood gets his first goal for Forest, and with that late on, they grab themselves a point. It was one of them careless, clumsy days for City. If Haaland takes that chance that comes to him at 2-0, game's over. He doesn't. As you say, other teams have quality. Gibbs White and Johnson have shown that they're a real handful when they're playing on top of the game. And it's points dropped for Pep. You could see the disappointment on his face. Kyle Walker came out after and did the interview and talked about, that's not us. We weren't ruthless enough. We didn't take our chances. We didn't kill the game. And, the opposition stay in games and give you problems. So, it has to be disappointment for Manchester City's point on the back of, that great performance at the Emirates to drop points at the City ground and all of a sudden, leave the door back open for Arsenal to go back top of the table.
So you also I think what maybe some people forget is about the Champions League now kicking back in for Man City. They play this week, RB Leipzig, I think, away from home. And we all know the importance of the Champions League to Man City is something else to throw into the mix, Rob, when you consider some of these Premier League games on the back of, those. So on the back of the Leipzig one during the week, next we've got Bournemouth away. Bournemouth just got a great victory. Is that going to be a simple game? Probably not. There's so many... There's so many reasons why they want to win the Champions League. I still think that might mean that they just not take their eye off, but they don't quite give it 100% in the Premier League games is another reason why they might just slip up. And Arsenal, of course, all their focus, all their desires are on the Premier League right now. And there's other stuff that's going to come along the way in the next few weeks and months.
Down the track, mate.
They have.
And honestly, if I'm Mikel Arteta, I might be binning that off a little bit,
Well, that's what I mean. The difference in motivation, Rob, for both of these clubs to what they're going for might make a difference as well. So that's just something to chuck in the mix as well. But there's so much to chuck in there. What's good is that there's going to be, it's going to be a great race in it that might have another runner in it when we get to them.
We're going to get to him now, mate.
I didn't see the game.
Yeah, let's jump to him now.
Okay, let's get to him.
Manchester United, 3-0 winners against Leicester. Not a brilliant first half by any means. 1-0 up, but they get themselves a couple of goals second half. Much better second half. Ten Hag talked about it himself. He said, in his words, not mine, we were rubbish first half, which I just love about him. Yeah. Now he's so brutally honest with his team. Man United, Robert. So we put a graphic up today. I don't know if you saw it. So if you take out the first two games when they beat Brighton and Brentford in the early game. They've got the most points of any team in the league since those two games. I mean, if we started the table after then, they'd be top of the table. It means it's quite incredible, the win. And today, Rob, where they didn't play that well, there's still a structure that's there that helps them now that wasn't in the past. There's a bit of a culture change where people understand about winning now and that being important. I think this guy, and I've said it before, I thought at half-time he took Garnacho off and put Sancho on, Rob. I thought it was a brilliant decision. One, Garnacho wasn't particularly playing well. Was giving it all last week like I need more time on the first-team pitch. Wasn't chasing his fullback Castagna. Wasn't particularly going forward. Sancho comes on, looks bright and breezy and in a real good place at the moment, which is great to see from a number of reasons. And this guy affects games, and this guy affects situations. He can look at things and change it, either personnel. He put Weghorst started in the 10, Rob, then he puts him back at centre-forward, puts Rashford out. I mean, this guy's got a handle on things and can affect things. You know how we used to look at Ollie and say, never quite think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could change a game. Ten Hag's got that ability to change a game.
No, that's my main thought was, Rob. I did watch this game, and into the second half, after about 15, 20 minutes in the second half, I'm like, this guy's changed the game totally. Change the game totally with a substitution. Basically switched the whole of the front four, if you want to put front four, apart from Bruno, stayed on the right-hand side. Everything else was different. Sancho in the hole. I mean, without Weghorst, number 10, I'm struggling. I'm struggling a little bit. They drew at Barca
and they've won today with him starting in the 10. So, I mean...
Well, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And then he went to number 9. He was a little bit better. I mean, some of his moves... I think one of the goals, he made a good run to create a little bit of space. And when things are going well, and again, this is all part of Erik ten Hag and what he's doing. He is getting something greater than the sum of the parts, in my opinion. When I look at this team, and of course there's really good players missing. Eriksen, Casemiro missing out the side, maybe one or two others. He is getting, with like you said, the shape, the structure. Another thing that is obvious and that I love is the width that he's playing with, Rob. So he wants his wide players to stay wide. So you're seeing this compact version of United when they're going into the attacking half where they've got tremendous width. And that literally spreads out defenders, creates a little bit of spaces for people to move in. I love that. And when there's width as well, Rob, and we used to play in the middle of the park in midfield, if you know that width's there, like you always know you've got an out.
Yeah, that's
because other teams aren't going to be standing man on man on. So you've always got, I can come out here, I can go boom, I can go out wide because we've got great width. When everybody's tight in, it's like, well, I've got to try and feed a ball through here or where. So I do like that about him. Changes were everything. And Marcus Rashford's. Well, let me put it to you as a question, Rob. Right, I put it as a question. Is this a purple patch for Marcus Rashford? Because this consistent scoring and is we haven't seen this. We've seen good seasons and a high scoring one I think has gotten to really good numbers.
Yeah, he got 22.
But mostly we haven't seen this.
His career high now. He was 22 all comps coming into the game, which was joint career high. He's in like territory he's never been before now. 24 all comps and 15 since the World Cup.
Is this going to continue, Rose? Can this continue? Because this title race talk in Man United, he has to continue it.
It's a good question. And it's one of those, in some respects, Rob, only time will tell. But what I would say, to answer your question, try and give you an answer, is this is the potential we've all seen in Rashford, impact in flashes and at times. We've all seen this. We've all known there's an outstanding footballer there. We've sometimes wondered, has he got quite the hunger for goals that he needs to? I think he's maturing. I think he's been through a lot over the last couple of years, and I think he's put him in a better place. I think he's got a manager who understands him, who's almost built a team around to get the best of him. I think he's enjoying being the man without being bravado about it. He's not a flashy sort, but I think he likes privately, this is his team now. He's a boy. He's always been number 2 to somebody else. Somebody else has always been the star. All of a sudden, he's a star, and I think he's enjoying it. So my answer is, I think he can be, Rob. I think he can be a 20-goal-a-season Premier League guy with the right team and if he can continue on with the right attitude.
I've just got his numbers up in front of me, Rob. Let me just go back to like 2015-16 when he first come onto the scene. Premier League goals.
Yeah.
5, I'll go through the seasons as I go up. So 5 in that season, then 5 the next season, 7, 10, 17.
Yeah.
That was that big season, Rob, in 2019-20 where...
Yeah. Him and Martial both got 17.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this is what you expect.
Yeah.
Then he went down to 11. Yeah. Last season was 4, and now he's at 14 in 24.
Yeah.
So that's like, come on then, because now I think he's 25, isn't he? He's 25 years of age right now, Rob. Now he's not a young player anymore. He's not a young player.
Though.
Great age to go and going into his peak right now. And if Manchester United want to continue this and challenge the top 2 for the Premier League title, which they're in it. It is a 3-team race right now, Rob. There will be outsiders with the bookmakers and all that in terms of those 3. But in terms of points where they are right now, you've got to put them in that. But it absolutely relies on Marcus Rashford to continue his good form. By the way, is he better at overhead kicks than Wout Weghorst? Please tell me that.
I was going to say, could we have a contrast of 2 of the greatest overhead kicks at Old Trafford? One, Wayne Rooney in the derby, and the other, Wout Weghorst's attempt against Leicester City. I mean, does Wout Weghorst understand that? Bless him. I mean, it's great for trying it. Love him for trying it.
Yeah.
But, you know, big Wout. Know your strengths, big man. Know your strengths. I tell you who else, Rob, needs, again, in Ten Hag, we've talked about him, but needs a little bit more credit in terms of the Rashford thing, because the numbers are incredible and the transformation's been incredible. And I'm just going to ask you to think about, do you remember the Mourinho days? Marcus Rashford went down the side of the pitch and hit one to the near post. And Mourinho turning to the crowd and almost like a bit of his hands up like, look what I'm working with. And remember Rashford's face?
I remember.
And that was where Rashford was when the goals weren't coming, when he had no confidence, when he wasn't playing with a smile. This manager has turned that all around. And I've got to tell you, Rob, that's the hardest thing for managers to do. To inbuild a confidence and a smile and an optimism in a player who's been down and been battered and been a number 2.
That low.
Everybody continues to be questioned, is he really a top goal scorer or not? It's an incredible transformation and a great mark of how good this guy is who's in the seat right now.
Couple of mentions, Rob, I want to mention as well here. Yeah. Now, I did a analysis package on Lisandro Martinez a couple of weeks ago, Rob. I mean, his abilities now are pretty much unquestioned, Rob, aren't they? With all the doubts about his height, etc., about what he was, what he couldn't do what he couldn't do for Man United. I think he has been really, really outstanding in all aspects, other than towering headers. Brilliant, and Sabitzer as well. Now, of course, we do are underappreciated, and we think about it. Sabitzer was in my thinkings. I mean, it's a bit early yet, but I thought he had a good game today. And this other guy was in my thinking, and our producer said, well, he is kind of appreciated, and I get that, and he's right. But I still don't think, and he's not my underappreciated for this weekend, but I still don't think people realise how good Bruno Fernandes is. And now I've said this from day one. Bruno Fernandes creates so many assists again today. Key passes, clever passes, right-weighted passes. This time the outside of his right foot, right into the path of Marcus Rashford to go through and score his goal. Bruno I just think that quality, and of course I linked it with Eriksen when Eriksen was playing. They started to link together, creating for each other. But in general, he might have had a disappointing season last year. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like he's a little underappreciated in general of I think he's a top player. I think he's a top player, and he's a little bit chopsy. The referees, he's a bit of a snapper, and he rolls around a little bit. Other things there that I maybe doesn't endear him to many other fans, but I want to give him another mention because I think at the core of everything that United do in terms of end product, it has been Marcus Rashford, but Bruno Fernandes has been such an important part, Rob. If it's not the assist, it's a ball that led to an assist. It's the key passes that he makes from midfield, from deeper areas. He's got the vision, the quality to do that. So I'm really enjoying Bruno now, and of course he's playing in a little bit of a different role for him at the moment on the right side of a 4-2-3-1, on the right side of that 3 behind the striker. But yeah, I mean, and fair play to Wout Weghorst, by the way. He runs around, he pressurises. He is not the quality that Manchester United are used to. But fans, in this moment, right, and this is where the environment, the situation is so different. If Manchester United right now, Rob, were struggling and we're mid-table and we're losing and drawing and not playing well, he'd be getting hammered. The manager would be getting hammered for playing him. But because it's working and because the team's playing well and because all that there's so much that can override the actual individual names on that team sheet that you wouldn't think is a great. But the way that they are doing it under this manager, then he is enjoying himself, and I like the fact that he's smiling. You see him in games and he misses chances, or he tries terrible overhead kicks where he doesn't get off the ground, and he's a bit of a. He's tough to watch a little bit for Manchester United, given this club and what it stands for. But fair play. He was a controversial pick in some ways. I guess he was cover as a striker. He's playing a lot. He's working hard for the team, and they're winning. So go and fill your boots. Yeah, crack on.
And exactly, Martial is unreliable. Don't know what you're going to get from him in terms of talent. They're night and day. Yeah. But as you say, this guy, is I think Ten Hag said, always gives you a press from the front. Always gives you good energy and
well, you know what you're going to get.
Team and absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of working for Ten Hag, so let's leave that alone. Yeah, great result for United. Totally, continues to go, and an argument would say, Rob, just on the title race, they kind of, I keep saying to Bex, they're the little horse in the race, but they're in the race.
Well, yeah, I mean, little horse. I'm not sure it's they're a big horse, but they're not a fully fit horse. I can't say Man United are a little horse, can you?
Yeah, in the big race, they're a little horse for me. Like they're galloping along at their high speed. The other two look a bit more thoroughbred to me. But listen.
Yeah. Well, they're in it. You've got to say they're in it, Rob.
It was interesting. He said, I listened to 3 or 4 Ten Hag pressers before the game, and he said really interesting. Like the important. He said like Leicester this week. They got Barcelona Thursday and then the League Cup. And he said the most important one's about Leicester and getting the 3. Then they go to Barca for the second leg of that before we get to knockout stages and then a League Cup, which will obviously start his tenure with a winning dressing, which is important. But the big thing he said, Rob, was he said, come and ask me that question around April. Because if we're in there around April, then we're in a race. And he said, if not, we'll just continue to try and get top 4 and do what he did. And he's just got a great manner about him. He's one of them guys who's gone into a football club very quickly and changed things around. Yeah, very calm. Let's talk about Liverpool, who seem to have got a little bit ahead of steam up. Followed the win in the Merseyside derby with a 2-0 win at Newcastle, slightly helped by Nick Pope's poor decision that ended up him getting sent off and Newcastle down to 10 men. But I have to say, Rob, it was 10 men who still had a go, still created chances and had plenty of shots and efforts on goal. But a good win for Liverpool. I heard Jurgen Klopp saying it's looking a little bit like the old Liverpool again. And certainly in the attacking areas of the pitch, and it's starting to feel like they're getting a little bit of that intensity back.
Yeah, and the quality. I just thought we saw some real quality, Rob, from them in this game against Newcastle and James's Park. I mean, the through balls I thought were both brilliant. Trent Alexander-Arnold, again, we kind of take it for granted, but he gets his head up, he floats a lovely ball through to Darwin Nunez, who controls it lovely and really hits through the ball with his laces, smacks the back of the net. And then Mo Salah's little flicked ball through for Gakpo, wasn't it? For the second goal, touch and finish, for him, Clyde's in with the goalkeeper. Yeah, so I just thought that the quality is returning, and it makes all the difference. You look at the team sheet. Of course, Van Dijk is back into the side, but they struggle with him in the team as well. But it's kind of a back four that's getting close to the strongest one. I do, and I know we've seen the midfield change a lot for Liverpool, but I still believe you've got to be playing Fabinho and Henderson in there, Rob. I don't, and whether Thiago. What's the bit that's improved them? Thiago's not on the side. Bajcetic, this young kid that can play as a holding midfield player. He's enjoying playing as a number 8 where he can get forward as he played in this game, with Henderson doing the same thing on the other side. And a front three that they've got talent. Jota comes off the bench, Firmino comes off the bench, and it looks good again. But I thought the main kind of the moments were the quality moments, and that's what we know they can do that. We haven't seen anything we haven't seen that for a long period of time. But the goals and the through balls, the quality were excellent. I mean, the sending off happens, Rob, and then I don't know about you, it's different for you in the studio, but I'm I'll go and get a cup of tea. I mean, it was game over at that point, and they got a little sloppy, to be honest. They got a little sloppy. They could have conceded. And I don't think that's going to please Klopp, because I know the job was done.
Yeah.
But keep at it and don't give up any chances. I mean, Newcastle had, and you said it in the studio, Rob, that you kind of, in comment, they kind of felt they still had a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was one of those where I think they had more shots at one stage than Liverpool in the first half, or about the hour mark. Yet they were down to 10 men. So Maximin had one of those days where he looked lively and wanted to cause problems. Isak up front, Callum Wilson came on. So yeah, from just on Newcastle's point of view, Rob, obviously a disappointing result. They've lost twice now to Liverpool, but ahead of a League Cup final with no Nick Pope. And interesting, no Dubravka, who'd played for Manchester United earlier in the cup competition. So it looks like Mark Gillespie or Karius might be the third and fourth goalkeepers of the football club. One of those will start in the League Cup, which has to be a disadvantage for Newcastle. Disappointment for Eddie Howe and his team before even the ball's kicked.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, it's going to be some occasion that next weekend. We're going to see it, Rob, aren't we? We're going to react to the next podcast after that game on the Sunday. And listen, they're on a bit of a bad run right now in terms of the results. We get that. I thought Alexander Isak, Rob, looked really good up front.
Yeah, he's lively,
just in terms of some bright spots for them. Really lively, composed. I think he's got a bit about him. I like him. Sam Maximin was bright, wasn't he, from the left-hand side? The midfield is, of course, very different. And it's very easy to say, isn't it? But when you haven't got Bruno Guimaraes, he's such a good player. Such a good player. He's badly missed. And it's Joe Ellington that played the holding role today. There's been other players in different games. Elliot Anderson, the young kid, came in. So they've got their own little issues going on. And now with the goalkeepers are for the League Cup final on Sunday. But no, it's just, it was the right call, the red card. You can't... I saw a couple of people saying, well, is it a bit harsh? Well, if Salah's going to get the ball and there's no goalkeeper in the goal, I don't care if there's defenders that are goal side, it's an obvious goal with no goalkeeper. So it's absolutely the right call, the red card. And I think Tim said it in the studio, it's like, for goalkeeper, then he tries to head the ball and it comes away. He's like, oh, no, and he just gathered it in. So... Yeah, and I was disappointed because we've seen classics with these two before, and I wanted to get more of a test of Liverpool. But you got to say, well done, Liverpool. Much better quality. The front players are fit again now to offer competition. The midfield is a little bit light. Well, a little bit. It still needs a lot of work. It doesn't mean that they still need new players, Rob, in the summer, don't they? But it was more like it. Can they keep it going? Because they've still got a chance of finishing in the top four. They've
got a chance of closing that gap. And they've also got big, important Champions League game this week, mate. I think it's Tuesday against Madrid, which is going to be a huge game. And we'll do a podcast on Thursday and we'll look back at that game, City against Leipzig and United against Barcelona. So a big week in Europe for the big English clubs. But Liverpool, back-to-back wins, front players scoring, front players assisting each other. Things looking a little bit rosier for Jurgen Klopp.
Yep, better.
Let's take it to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 2, West Ham 0. I have to say it was a bit of an uninspiring first half in this derby that usually got a little bit of an edge to it. Didn't see too much of that against Spurs. Antonio Conte, as we know, not there. Christian Stellini was in charge again at Spurs. I think he's got a 100% record now, so it's almost like, take your time, Antonio. We're all good. West Ham, who, form's been not too bad, picked up some decent draws recently, but found themselves in the bottom three, Rob. And this defeat, I wouldn't say puts pressure on David Moyes, but you don't want to be in the bottom three too long if you're West Ham United and spent the kind of money they've got, because if not, inevitable things gonna happen, inevitable talks gonna take place.
Yeah, I mean, crikey. I mean, you get a few results and you start to see improvements at West Ham, the shape change, which I think everybody in the manager said that's been a part of why they're doing better. New players sort of starting to do better into the team a little bit more. Then you lose players. Paquetá was a player that was really looking to play well, and then I think he's done an injury that I've done actually on both shoulders, where you kind of you pop out this joint here. So I think he's going to be out for a little while. Tough game for West Ham United. I still don't think it's the time for them to panic. It's been a really frustrating, difficult season for West Ham, but I don't, I guess it depends, Rob, doesn't it? The next 2 or 3, 4 weeks, if they're still in and around there, then there might be a talk of change to get a bump to try and get out for the remaining weeks of the season. But I still think they're going to be okay.
Weekend, I know, actually, which is at home to Forest. unfortunately, that's the kind of game, if you don't win, things start to be said and written and people start to
escalate quickly.
Yeah.
Escalate quickly.
A promoted team, if you should beat at home and you don't, then things can escalate. So a bit of a tricky one for David Moyes.
Yeah.
But I'm like you. I hope he gets the time. He's had 2 7th-place finishes. He's been deep into the Europa League. Is dragged this club up in some respects. When they moved from Upton Park, and deserves the time to play himself out of trouble. I think. It's one of them where listen, if we get into 10, 9, 8 games to go and he's in trouble, I might understand it then. But I'd like to see him being given the next 5 or 6 games and see if he can put a run together, get him out of the danger.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I'll tell you what, Spurs, Rob. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here. I feel like, again, this is maybe an overreaction, but when Antonio Conte is not on the side, I feel the team play more. I feel they play more. Yeah. I think they try and play more. They're expansive. I think they're a little less worried about being out of position defensively, and we've got to be defence first and caution, and this is the shape, and and we do our little set patterns and stuff. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's being oversimplistic.
Yeah, maybe, but it's a good point, Rob, and you just made me think, and I'll chuck one out, because you know what it's like. Training ground, the manager's had a day off, or the manager's in his office, he's got meetings, or one of those. It doesn't happen that often, didn't happen in my career, but the assistant's taking it and the coaches are taking training. Training's a bit different. The gaffer can walk out on the training ground just to have a look. It changes, Rob. Something changes when he's there. And I'm not saying it's better, it's worse. Something changes because the boss is there. I'm just wondering, and you make the point, at Spurs, like, if you're Emerson Royale, who's under a bit of pressure for his place, and maybe Davies and maybe Skip and whatever, and you look across at Antonio Conte, he's got a presence about him. He's got an aura. He's not the biggest man in the world, but he's definitely got something about him. Could that be something that is affecting? And if it is, then that's not necessarily a particularly positive thing for Spurs, although Conte might say he wants that defensive thing first, so that's why he's been that way and he's okay with it.
Yeah, but it's almost like the more you talk about defensive issues and problems, the more you try and figure it out, the more they keep happening. I'll tell you what happens, back to your point, Rob. When the manager wasn't there on the training ground or on a match day, which happened a few times, the difference, I think, is that everybody's a little bit more relaxed. Everybody's a bit more relaxed because the man who influences your future and influences your place in the team and your contracts and everything, he's the scrutinizer is not there. I definitely feel like training relaxes a little bit, and the game in the dressing room before a game relaxes a little bit because it's different. Now, for different people, it means different things. If you're, some teams need that focus from the top man. Most do. To carry out.
I would say I was one of those.
Successful.
My teams were. We needed the gaffer there because it got us on edge.
Right, because if you dropped off a little bit, relaxed, right,
we're not that
it
team.
Didn't produce the best performance.
Yeah.
But what if relaxing actually helps this team perform better?
Good point.
Because they're a little bit more, well, I see a run there. Yeah, I'm going to go for that run. And I'm going to, midfield. I mean, again, it's probably a load of cobswallop or whatever.
Yeah, but it's a view.
I don't know.
It's an interesting view of, listen, we've been around enough dressing rooms.
The fans weren't bored, mate. The fans weren't bored. No. The fans weren't bored. The fans are into the game. They won't sit there watching the team defend, which has happened many times before. So I think unless it just coincides with over recent weeks, more expansive, trying to attack more, give the fans what they want a little bit more. I like the change, by the way. So there's a couple of talking points here. Certainly the manager's a talking point. In fact, before we get to the second talking point, I will just mention my underappreciated performer. So this is somebody that I feel like I've mentioned him recently, but apparently I haven't. Emerson Royale. Yeah. I think I might mention him, but I didn't. Emerson Royale is a player that I don't really think is that great. So I certainly underappreciate him because of recent weeks, he has stepped up, and you said about it with Pedro Porro coming to the football club for a lot of money as a right wing back directly in Royale's place. And Emerson Royale has stepped up. He gets the goal today. The players jump all over him. He makes a couple of big challenges. The fans loving it. I mean, fair play. Fair play to Emerson Royale, who, doesn't look like, well, it looks like he's part of the problem at Spurs, part of the creative issue, because wing-backs, particularly in the system, are so important for creating things and final balls and getting goals themselves and attacking the back post, which he did in this game, where it's a lovely move from Spurs, by the way. And again, that's, talking about what we've talked about the Spurs have lacked is quality, is midfield precision. And to be fair, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg today plays a beautiful through ball to Ben Davies, who makes a run, playing the first time under the new manager, he wasn't there, but the team for a while as a left wing-back. He makes a run, cross it to Royale, who calmly sidefoots it in. That quality in midfield has been missing, and fair play to Højbjerg for doing it in this game. Not saying they couldn't do that a little bit more regularly, and Bentancur's maybe got a little bit more of that in his game. But just Emerson Royale, Rob, just my underappreciated performer. Before, I think we should talk about the forwards. And I noticed your conversation in the studio after this, and it's all about Heung-min Son, and it's about Richarlison. Yeah. Our last podcast, Rob, didn't we agree that Richarlison should start, and it's a time for Heung-min Son to sit on the bench?
Correct.
Did I hear you say after the game that you still put Son in the first 11?
I said I agreed. No, I said I agreed with the decision to bench him, but I want to bench him to kickstart form. And if benching him kickstarts his form, then he's in my first 11. Heung-min Son can score 8 to 10 goals between now and the end of the season that can fire Spurs into the Champions League spots. Yeah, I'm still not sure if Richarlison can get 8 to 10 goals in this Spurs team to get those spots.
Doesn't Richarlison, Rob, doesn't Richarlison deserve a run of games? He hasn't played. He started very few games for Tottenham. With Heung-min Son's form as it has been, hasn't he got the right to demand 3, 4, 5 games on the spin so he can try and get into the goals a bit more?
Yeah, but if Heung-min Son is your top, is delivered the goals like he's done, and he kickstarts form, you're hurting yourself not playing him. He scored.
Well, not right. He ain't done anything this season.
No, but
why are you hurting him when he's? Are you waiting for? You're just going to keep waiting.
I'm not going to keep waiting.
Expensive signing on the bench.
What if Son? We heard him after the game. He's talking. He's a lovely human being in the world, which is great, but doesn't mean you should start the team. But and not quite rightly drop him. But he comes on. Richarlison had chances and didn't look particularly clinical with them. I
don't know whether he started many games, Rob. He hasn't started many games for Tottenham this season. We count on one hand, I think, the games he started. He just hasn't had much of a run or opportunity to feel a sense of am I part of this team or not.
If I've got Sonny back and it looks like he's firing, he's in my first 11. If I get Sonny and he doesn't look like he's firing... He started
6 games.
He started 6 games and he hasn't scored a goal.
Yeah, well, 6 starts.
His last assist was in September. I'm just saying, whatever it takes to kickstart Sonny,
so how long do you keep him out?
Who, Son or Richarlison?
So how long does it take? Well, how long are you going to keep? So is that it then? So that's one bench and he's kick-started now. You're going to play him again the next one?
I'm not saying he's kick-started. But listen, if I see him in training looks lively and he's back on it, he'll play in my first team ahead of Richarlison. Because I think Son gives me bigger output than Richarlison.
You're going on historically because this season
isn't that what we have to go on? Isn't that what we're going on Rashford? Historically, what he scored, you've been through there's so many years. There's so many years I know with Heung-min Son, he'll score me goals. Now, he hasn't. He was benched today. He came on. He got his goal. Looked quite lively. Him and Kane connected again. If I can get that going, I keep it going. Because historically, that's held me in good stead so far. You're saying
they've connected amazing, like 40-something. All I'm saying is that Richarlison is bought for a lot of money. We said it in the last pod, Rob. Kulusevski's a little different. Of course, Kane's going to always play. I just think like Heung-min Son should see a few games on the bench. I think Richarlison's have a go. I think Heung-min Son, by the way, is a brilliant option. Yeah.
I'm not saying he isn't.
Off the bench, he's a brilliant option.
I would just look at it differently. I would look if I can kickstart Son. I'm kickstarting Son to play in my team. I think Kulusevski's the one I might look at more with Richarlison. It isn't quite happening as well for him at the moment. I might decide that for Richarlison, he might be the one to have a little rest.
Yeah, that's fair enough, because you don't want to spend the money on Richarlison, sit his backside on the bench for most of it, and not really get. I mean, at some point he's got to add pressure and he's got to get out there and try and do his own thing. He's not going to be a happy guy if when others in his position are not doing it and he doesn't get a start or a little run a game. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see whether he'll start again or whether Heung-min-Son comes straight back into the side.
Yeah, they've got Chelsea, haven't they, next week as well? I think it is, isn't it? Tottenham, Chelsea at Spurs. Yeah. So yeah, big game.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how that one goes. But yeah, listen, everybody has their own opinions and views on it. But listen, I think Beck said in the end, which is nice. You want kind of competition places. You want all of them trying to be scoring, all of them kind of playing and fighting for that spot in the team, which is a perfect scenario for Antonio Conte.
Yeah, it is a perfect scenario. I just think I just feel like when one of those is had a long run and has not really done it, even though he's historically been brilliant. Like, another player should have another run instead of getting minutes here, minutes there, the odd start here. I just feel a little bit frustrated for Richarlison. But again, we don't see the training, we don't see, I just think, to shake it up a little bit. But in general, it was a good day for Tottenham and a better day, and the fans enjoyed the game and they attacked a lot more, and they played some really, really great stuff going forward, and a little bit of quality there, particularly for that Emerson Royal goal I enjoyed. And that's what those Spurs fans want to see, a little bit more of that creativity from the players behind those front three. Maybe Heung-min-Son gets more goals if the ones behind improve a little bit. But no, good for Spurs, and they keep going on, mate. They keep going on. They're not going away. Spurs
in the top four. West Ham, unfortunately, stuck in the bottom three. Listen, mate, we're going to change tact a little bit, and we're going to talk about the other end of the table. And it's surprising that we're talking about the other end of the table, because we're going to talk about Chelsea and Southampton, but we're going to talk about a Southampton win. Ruben Selles, as caretaker manager, came in, has already been on record, said he wants a job. He keeps putting in performances, his team keep putting in performances like this, he'll probably get it. Graham Potter, spotlight started to turn on him a little bit, despite all the money that's spent and the team that's been assembled. Results aren't coming. Got booed off yesterday as they lost 1-0. I think Beck said today Chelsea are 11 points above the bottom three. Is that right? Chelsea.
Yes, right. 11 points. I got the table in front of me.
Yeah,
11 points, Rob, from West Ham.
I think we've talked on the podcast before, like at Chelsea, he's got to get a certain amount of wins, despite the transition and the bedding in players and the finding out. You've got to do a bare minimum at Chelsea, yeah. And a 1-0 defeat at home to Southampton is not that case.
It's a shocker. That's a shocker. That's an absolute shocker of a result, isn't it? Chelsea at home with that team. With that manager, with a little bit of time to settle in now, with some star players, losing to a team that are rock bottom of the Premier League is an awful result. Again, in the window of all the games going on, it's hard for us to get every detail of every game that went on in that window. But that's really bad. The owner said, didn't he, of the manager, Graham Potter, we'll judge him on years more than months and weeks. Yeah. And that's great. Like, well done. Like that's lovely. That's not real. It's just that's not reality. It's just not. Because if your manager goes on a run of 5 or 6 losses or whatever, then it becomes crazy pressured, crazy untenable. Football is different, and Todd Bowley and Clearlake and everybody else involved there will soon feel that heat. And I admire Rob that he's saying, let's judge him on years. Yeah. No, it's just not. The Chelsea fans won't allow it, and not the media, but it's like the pressure will build. Where we said on Wednesday, Rob, there's got to be a sense of, even if it's a little dippy, of their. Because we saw signs in the Champions League game. We saw signs. I said to you, gosh, some of the Felix and some of the movements, that's more like it with Reece James at right. It just. But this is a bad dip. They got to react to it. And what's at the back of my mind, and I'm sure it's back of mind of Chelsea fans, Rob, is Potter's style and philosophy. And he did an amazing job at Brighton, and you know where I'm going to go. Did an amazing job turning that club around. I spoke to the CEO about it a few weeks ago. Great conversation with Paul Barber about how they wanted to change it. They changed it, and it was amazing. But at the end, And when they got criticised, they didn't score enough goals. Remember, Rob, we said about, they're a little bit tippy-tappy, Brighton. They're they're great possession numbers, but didn't create that many. De Zerbi's gone in there and found a way to get over that hurdle. Maybe a little bit more open defensively, but he's turned the dial up, as I've talked about all the time, the attacking dial. Are we seeing the Potter ball, if you want to call it that the Achilles heel of it is that it's a little slow and careful possession, which means everybody gets behind the ball and it's hard to break through and score goals. Are we seeing that? Because that ain't going to fly at Chelsea.
Well, that might be the reality. I think if I'm trying to defend Graham Potter, I might suggest that the imbalance of the squad is not giving me as good a chance as I'd like. I don't have a recognised centre-forward in my squad. Aubameyang's not been part of anything. Kai Havertz is playing up top. He's not a real centre-forward in the sense that we'd say. I mean, those who'd argue against would say De Zerbi doesn't have a centre-forward, but he's getting goals from the Marches and the Grosses and
wide players, wingers, scoring wingers in modern football.
And the argument would be that Chelsea have a better quality of player in those wide areas who are not getting the chances. Sterling, Mudryk, the list goes on, Madueke, Mount, Gallagher.
They should be able to score.
Yeah. At some point, I spoke to one of my Chelsea friends last night because I was just interested in what they thought. And he said, they won't continue to have this, Chelsea fans. They'll give him a little bit of time, but they won't continue to have this. This is Chelsea Football Club, who for the last 15 years have sacked managers for a lot less. This was Roman Abramovich time. We'd be talking, having a different conversation. So this is also, when I've said a few times, he's got to, and I hope he sees this out, Graham Potter's got to understand about being a top six manager. Sometimes being a top six manager is winning games. Win games. Because that's why you're in a big six. That's why there's a different pressure than at Brighton. There's a different, Brighton booed him at 0-0 against Leeds, and he was really upset about the Brighton fans booing him. Listen, Chelsea fans expect to be in transition in the top six of the Premier League, in transition. They don't expect to be
seeing some stuff,
seeing some things
signs,
that we can go in. Not a Chelsea team 10th in the league that get beaten by a Southampton team that looked like they were destined for the Championship the way things were going under the old manager Nathan Jones. It just I hope the reality hits home, and I hope that in some respects, Rob, he can, as you say, turn the dial, change the dial if need be, take a few less passes and have a few more shots, be a little bit more, I wouldn't say direct in his play, because that's not the way he's going to be, but let's have end product. Let's have a bit more
penetration, more penetration.
Yeah, let's take more risk, because he's got the talented players there. I don't know if that's his style. I don't know if he's wedded to this combination play that's going to create the chances, because at the moment that isn't quite working. And at some point, Rob, he'll be fighting for his life as a Chelsea manager.
No, it's right, and I think we both really want him to succeed, and we hope he's given time. Yeah. But we've been in this long enough now to realise that you can't judge managers on seasons and years. You just don't. That is not going to fly. But yeah, pressure mounts on Potter. That at Stamford Bridge against Southampton, that themselves caretaker manager. By the way, Ruben Sellés should get the job. I know he's in consideration. Yeah. Before Jesse March is kind of that conversation. Sellés was in it. He said in his press conference he wants the job. Yeah. I mean, like there aren't many flying around right now. I'd take him up on it. He's well respected, as you said, I think on the show, Rob. Respected, been there, knows everybody.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I think that would make sense now, but they might just allow him to stay to the end of the season, Rob. That might be something else that happens, But well done, Southampton.
Well done, Southampton. Great win. A little bit of pressure starting amount on Graham Potter. Let's move it to probably what's the biggest game of the season down there. Biggest game of the weekend. Sorry, down there at the bottom end. Everton facing Leeds. Everton have made their change. Sean Dyche in charge. Had 1-1, drawn 1, beat Arsenal, lost to Liverpool. Leeds United team, Jesse Marsh. Our team lost to Manchester United ahead of the game. I didn't think Leeds particularly showed me an awful lot that would give me encouragement, Rob, that they can see this fight out. And I feel they need to get somebody in the door pretty quickly, or else this could go bad. in a very, very quick way for Leeds. I think they need a little bit of somebody to grab hold of it, a little bit of leadership. I know Mike Skabaka's come in, he's been in under 23s, he had a varied career getting there, and it's no disrespect to him. This is a big football club with big ambitions, and right now it needs a personality to grab hold of it. A little bit like Sean Dyche has done at Everton, Rob.
Yeah, I think I made the same note I've got in capital letters, need a new direction. They need something quickly. I mean, I'm not going to go over it about Jesse Marsch, and they built him a team and then got rid of him, straight after the window closed, which I still can't get over, and I don't get it at all. You go down a road and to do a U-turn, for me, you've got to be further on than what they are. Anyway, they've already done that now. There were 3 difficult games, Man United twice, and then, of course, Everton now 1 point from 9. So in short term, it hasn't helped them by having not Jesse Marsch in charge of the side. Not much in the team, to be fair. We're still seeing Leeds do some good stuff going forward. Yeah. I mean, they still possess well, and they still attack well, and they still got some dynamic young players. There was periods in this game, Rob, where I'm thinking, Leeds look better, Everton. Leeds look better than Everton. They just did. But it's that little bit of know-how, that little bit of detail in the final third in both boxes, where you've got the likes of Tarkowski. By the way, if you watch him, he's the most aggressive player I think in the league, James. I mean, we know that, but I've watched a few times. They are the most aggressive players for sure, and it's almost like he can't wait for a fight. Did you see when there was a melee going on? Dwight McNeil. I don't even know why Dwight McNeil started this melee.
Stay out with Dwight. You don't look like you're built for them melees.
And Tarkowski, he came in and he ripped some. Was it Tyler Adams or something? He come in and he ripped somebody out the way and chucked him out the way, and then of course that reacted. I mean, he is one angry, aggressive man. But I tell you what, I wouldn't mind him in my team, Tarkowski. He's a rugged defender, along with Connor Cody, of course. We feel they're better defensively, but they get a freakish goal from Seamus Coleman that I think he's crossing it, and he is just trying to cross it.
Although the goalkeeper's taking a terrible position trying to read the cross.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
Young Melia, just having a moment or two that he's a young goalkeeper learning his trade.
There's nobody there, Rob, was there?
Yeah, there's nobody in the box. He almost has to step on his line.
Nobody in the box.
There, but. Easy said, done. But it's...
but it's massive 3 points. Massive 3 points for Everton. My goodness.
Yeah. And Leeds have got Southampton next weekend, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, blimey.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure.
So this is it now.
These
are the 2 games.
10 o'clock kick-off next weekend. I mean, that could be...
Right, we'll be...
Yeah, we'll be all over that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be in the studio for that one, won't we? Me and you next weekend, so we'll be ready for that one. Yeah, I mean, I love these games. I love the bottom of the table clashes as much as anything else, and that's a big one. And that was the whole point of firing the manager, wasn't it, Rob? Like, you got the United games to kind of get somebody in or whatever. Then you got these important games.
I just wonder from Leeds' point of view, Rob, like, you do the Jesse Marsch thing. It's happened now, whether you agree or disagree. But like, feel like you got to get somebody in the door, and like without panicking.
Absolutely.
Whose name? I heard a name being thrown up yesterday. I read it in a couple of places. Harry Redknapp's name got brought up. I was like, what? What?
No, hasn't he? I read it. I heard that too, and I think he's already reacted, hasn't he? I think he's already sort of said, no, don't be silly. This is crazy. Yeah, wow. I think I saw a reaction to that.
Wow.
But no, you're right. They got to. I mean, to make that change.
Would you not get a Rafa Benitez? Would you not just go someone like a Rafa? I saw him, he was on English TV yesterday at the Newcastle Liverpool game. He was a guest. Just somebody who can come in and work. If you talked about a lot of good things going forward, just somebody who can organise. Need somebody who can organise a back line.
To give it some shape.
Give him a chance.
Yeah, to give it some shape. Yeah.
Do some reps and get some drills done.
Yeah, maybe to shore up that. I mean, the defensive side of things is obviously where they're a bit weaker right now. Verba looks better at centre back.
Yeah.
But no, I at this point, I think everybody that. I mean, he wasn't. He's a nightmare at Everton. Would he be up for a challenge at Leeds United? I don't know. Possibly. I
think keep him
really
up and we'll have a chat
me.
about it in the summer would be perfect.
Yeah.
But again, I just think it needs experience, Rob. I don't think it's a job at this point for somebody. If you feel you can stay up, it's got to be somebody with a bit of know-how who's got proven ways of doing things, can go in and make a difference.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because it's a young team, Rob, isn't it? It's a young Leeds team that needs a little bit of know-how, a little bit of direction and organising to get out of this situation again, which they did last year. Get out of it, of course, with Jesse Marsch, but we'll see. But they need somebody very, very quickly. I totally agree.
Another interesting result at the bottom of the table: Wolves 0, Bournemouth 1. Gary O'Neill getting a win. It's been a while since he's tasted victory, but all of a sudden, Rob, it's tightened things up down the bottom of the table. Southampton winning and Bournemouth winning, which has kind of brought the Leeds, the West Hams, the Evertons really back into things. Good win for Bournemouth. Tavernier, I think, got the goal. Lopetegui wasn't happy with Wolves, not surprised away from home. At home against a Bournemouth team that he would expect to get points and put a bit of a gap. And now between Wolves on 23 points, Bournemouth on 21 points, all of a sudden Bournemouth are giving themselves a lifeline. I mean, it's incredible this race down at the bottom to get out of the bottom three.
But ultimately, Rob, in our position, we got to make some calls. Great result from Bournemouth. Well done. Didn't see that coming. Wolves have been flying. Like new manager, new players, new look to the side. It's freshened up a little bit. They've been a lot better. And Bournemouth get this victory. I just don't. I don't see enough. I don't see enough of these days for Bournemouth to do it. They got to. I mean, what have they won? They've won 5. They've won 5 matches, and we always talk about the 9 to 10. They're halfway. They're way more than halfway games played now. So I still think that they are one of the worst 3 sides in the league. I always think about that in terms of how easy is it for this team to win games. They've won one, so that's when we start. Well, hang on a minute, but I still think they look like a team that finds it the hardest to win a game of football, and they need to win another 4 or 5 games in the next 15 matches. Yeah. So I just don't see them doing that. But fair play. If they're in a chance, they're outside the bottom 3 right now.
If they can give themselves a chance, a lifeline. I think we were saying that about Forest not too long ago, and all of a sudden they've picked up points, and they, sit a lot prettier on 25 points. So, that's the bottom of the league, and that's why we're talking about it. 2 teams that weren't, that certainly one of the teams that was expected to be down the bottom of the league, but we're sitting in 7th place, took on 6th place Brighton. Fulham with a late win. I heard Marcus Silva talking about it's nice for them to get a late win because they've dropped plenty of points late in games where they've drawn games and lost games with goals against. Solomon getting a late goal against the Brighton team that had many of the chances, had possession as you'd expect, but weren't able to put it away. And great win that is for Fulham. I mean, what an incredible season. 6th in the Premier League, Fulham, Robbie. It's incredible.
It's beyond incredible. It's beyond incredible. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And this is why we love it. We love the Premier League, and we have an amazing job trying to analyse it and try and predict what's going to happen. Fulham, after 24 games, are 6th in the top 6 in the Premier League is absolutely incredible, given, they made some really good signings. The midfield players, of course, we've talked about many times. Pereira in there. Palhinha in there as well, that have done amazingly well, and a goal scorer that's brought the championship goals to the Premier League, and Mitrovic. But even so, if you look at the table now, right, and you look at the stories, the big stories. Well, the big story, Arsenal, of course. Who would have thought they'd be sitting in this position? Then you go down the league table, Newcastle. That's wow, that's really good. Yeah. But Fulham in 6th behind Newcastle. That's 3 points behind Newcastle. I mean, that's remarkable. And Marco Silva, well done, and I'm sure. He is now, Rob. It's like you have this sort of season that guarantees you many more seasons work. Whether it's, of course, at Fulham initially, then somebody remember that, and then somebody remember that before that if he doesn't do well at the next one. So, I mean, of course they got a while to go yet to finish this off. But I mean, anything in the top 10 is remarkable for Fulham. So amazing. And Brighton too, by the way. Brighton, Brighton's had a great season too. The 7th.
Great win for Fulham. Marcus Silva and his team doing particularly well. One more game to go was Brentford Palace. Palace went 1-0. Peze came on as a sub and scored for Palace. And then late on, Janelt, sure Patrick Vieira was really disappointed not to secure all 3 points away at Brentford, who were on a good run themselves. I think they were unbeaten in 12 or something now in the Premier League. It's a great little... They're a story as well, Rob. The Brentford second season. Yeah. This is the one that's supposed to be difficult. Players, got used to it and not as motivated. continues to do well, and late goal for them feels like almost 3 points rather than one. Palace, a little bit form indifferent, and talked to Bex about Palace, and she said fans are just not quite sure where things are going at the moment, sitting 12th, which is a bit of a comfortable position, but I read a stat that was a bit shocking, really. They haven't won a game since the turn of the year under Patrick, so things have just gone a little bit flat for Palace. I mean, they'll be fine. There's no problem about relegation, but it's how you can kick Palace on into top 10 and beyond, really, I think, is the challenge.
Yeah, I think lots of draws in it, Rob. Lots of draws with them. Aberche Eze, I don't understand why he's not playing at the moment. I know others are in midfield. Yeah, off the bat. I mean, he's a really talented player. Maybe he's fiddling around with the balance a little bit at the moment. I did see an interview with Patrick Vieira before the weekend saying about how they got to be more clinical in front of goal and all that kind of stuff. So, again, no alarm bells at Palace. No. Things have changed there a lot in the last year and a half, 2 years now. So they got 26 points. They're sat in 12th place right now. But it's just disappointing. You want them to kick on, and because seem to have a good foundation with a new look back four, all those different defenders, centre backs they've got, which they changed, which have done, which to be fair to them, have done really well. Yeah. And we like them going forward with the attacking play that they've got. But it's a hard league, and it's a hard league to win a game in this Premier League. It takes a lot, and to have a run of wins again, it's really hard to do. So Palace are just struggling. They're just struggling at the moment, and teams have different moments in seasons, don't they? And Palace are having a bad one at the moment.
Absolutely, but a point apiece for those in those two games. And a weekend, mate, where the drama in the Premier League just keeps going up and up and up. And when Arsenal find a way to win at Villa Park, City drop points at Forest, we've got ourselves a real title race, and that's not forgetting that Man United sitting pretty in third place. We'll be back on Thursday, that's February the 23rd, when we'll recap the Champions League game from the week and Manchester United's second leg against Barcelona in the Europa League. But for now, I'm Earl, he's Mustard, together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.